We've all seen the display of flowers at the supermarket, maybe even bought some. But have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes and how the flowers are grown so perfectly? Welcome to Donalson's in Sussex. This is one of the last producers of chrysanthemums as cut flowers in the UK because most blooms are now brought in from abroad in refrigerated lorries. This huge greenhouse covers 10 acres, or the size of 10 football pitches, and it produces 17 million cut stems every year. Your bunch of flowers starts out as a bag of tiny unrooted cuttings like these. In winter, there are only about 6 tolerant varieties being grown, but in the warmer days of summer, there can be up to 20. These preformed cakes of compost are the same type that salad growers use for their lettuces. After unpacking the cuttings and dipping the bases in rooting powder, the cuttings are inserted into the compost blocks. The workers work quickly and efficiently, so almost every single cutting will grow. The completed trays are laid down and covered with plastic sheeting. This increases both the heat and the humidity around the trays, which helps the cuttings to root more quickly. Heating cables under the floor keep the cuttings at a steady 21 degrees C. After the first week, the plastic can be removed to allow the leaves to dry a little. If they stay too wet, they may rot. After another week on this floor, the cuttings have rooted and are ready to move on. Once they have rooted, they need planting as soon as possible so they continue growing quickly. The cuttings are not actually planted. They're placed on the surface of the prepared soil so that they can root down. Believe it or not, between 36 and 50,000 can be laid out every day, depending on the season. Every available inch of space is used for plants, because paths are not essential in this greenhouse, where overhead gantries allow the workers to stand the plants down without worrying where their feet are. The planting density varies according to the season, from 60 to 96%. This is the winter spacing, so there are gaps to allow light to reach all the plants. Extra mesh can be laid down where paths would run to allow more planting space. Both heat and carbon dioxide are supplied in pipes at soil level to make sure that conditions are perfect for quick growth. There are overhead heaters too, but these are only needed if the air temperature falls from its normal steady 18.5 degrees C. The south of England has the best light levels, which is why so many nurseries and growers are based here. But even so, bright lights are used to supplement the natural daylight and keep the plants growing quickly. Watering is also done from overhead and can be adjusted to suit the size of the plants and the season. These wire support grids are raised as the plants grow to keep the stems nice and straight. This saves the need to stake or tie the plants continually as they get bigger, a task that gets progressively more difficult as the plants grow and there's less room to work between them. These are spray chrysanths, which will have a cluster of flowers all open at once rather than having a single larger bloom at the top. In order to make this happen, these workers are nipping the top bud out to encourage the lower buds to develop. This is exactly the same sort of technique you might use at home to make a plant more bushy. In just a few weeks, the blooms open into flowers, giving a carpet of colour across the greenhouse. The flowers are ready for cutting after about 52 days in summer and between 60 and 65 days in winter. Slight differences between varieties mean that they don't always flower exactly in sequence, so it's down to the skill of the technical manager, Andy, to work out when the flowers are ready to cut. A movable conveyor belt is pulled into position alongside the row to be cut, ready for the process to start. This machine is used to separate and cut the flowers. It runs along the floor so that each stem is cut at the same length. The battery-powered cutter makes its way down the rows, cutting each stem in its sharp jaws as it goes. Each worker collects 5 stems together and lays them on the belt. This takes them to a second mobile belt, which transports them to the really ingenious bit. Underneath the main pathway hides a long conveyor that will take the flowers for packing. It's accessed through grids at regular intervals, but means that the main pathway is always clear for machinery and staff to use. Once the flowers have been cut, The bed is cleared and cultivated to remove the old debris and prepare it for the new plants that will follow within days. Twice a year, the beds are sterilised with steam to keep them free from pests and diseases. At the far end of the greenhouse, the flowers emerge and are taken up into the packing area. They're checked and put into plastic sleeves. They're packed into boxes and then into a chilled lorry that will take them to a warehouse, where they're labelled and have a sachet of food attached. From there, they'll go to the various distribution centres for the supermarkets, ready to go into the stores. So, next time you see a bunch of chrysanthemums in the supermarket, you'll know how it was done.